Hi again, everyone. This video is sponsored by contribution from Anonymous, and here's her story. Hi, Ali. Thank you for your advocacy on behalf of abuse victims. Your videos about inappropriate sexual behavior in your family of origin opened my eyes to how destructive my older brother, who is into S&M, has been to me. I am his only sister. I am no contact with him. My brother is a pathological liar. My brother started doing S&M 15 years ago and confided in me that he was into it. Confided to his sister. I urged to keep it. I urged to keep it a secret, but he insisted he wanted to come out of the closet and kept comparing himself to a gay person with a natural inclination. I didn't believe that and urged him to pursue his alternative sexual lifestyle quietly. He did for a while, but 2 years later, he suddenly told other family members who called me and asked me if I knew about it. Not knowing what to say, I pretended I had just heard about it. I wondered why he didn't warn me that he came out of the closet. I didn't realize he was torturing me by doing this, having to pretend I didn't know about it. Having to pretend I didn't know about it made me feel oddly complicit. Then he invited me on a trip to a famous city and paid for a ticket for me to join him on his vacation there for a few days. He said it was a gift so that I could have at least one adventure before my child was born. I went, never imagining he would expose me to anything bad. We shared a hotel room with twin beds. The morning after I arrived, I woke up to him taking his girlfriend on the bed next to mine and stroking the front of his talking to his girlfriend on the bed next to mine and stroking the front of his shorts. I heard him fantasize about bondage and other graphic sadomasochistic sexual acts. His phone was set to a loud volume. I could hear his girlfriend replying. Her voice was registering alarm. Don't, stop talking about that. He ignored it, and I heard him mention the name of her teen daughter. He was implying that he would pull her teen daughter into their sex play. I assumed this was fantasy talk, but it was confusing me to why he kept talking to his girlfriend about this if she was signaling distress. He told me that she never spoke to him again after this trip and seemed puzzled as to why. I was speechless. When I realized what was going on, I got up out of bed immediately and started forcefully signaling him to stop talking. I was so afraid his girlfriend would hear that I wrote a sign on a piece of paper saying, "Stop, I'm awake." At first, I believed that he thought I was asleep and didn't realize I could hear him. But he avoided my eyes and kept talking. Shocked, I ran into the lobby and called my husband, who advised me to use my credit card and book another room. What scares me about this in retrospect are two things. Once, that I was concerned that his girlfriend would hear me telling him to stop, so I wrote it on a sign to protect him from looking like a pervert, talking porn fantasies in the same room as his sister, when that is exactly what he was. The other is that I have PTSD, and he did this while I was asleep. I might have frozen if he did. The other is that I have PTSD, and he did this while I was asleep. I might have frozen in fear and pretended to be asleep out of shock at his behavior and been subjected to his entire sick porno exchange. But luckily, instinct to protect myself made me jump up once I heard the weird conversation and the high volume of his phone. I believed at the time that he thought I was in a deep sleep, but when I think about it now, I know he probably did it that way on purpose to confuse me and cause me to freeze up. He did it because he's an exhibitionist and he gets off. He gets off. He's probably one of these guys. He's probably would have been like an old school flasher, just running out on the street showing people his dick, because that's the type of pervert he is. That's where he gets his kink from. A year later, when he arranged to visit to see my new baby, I consulted a counselor and told her what he did when I saw him on the trip. Shocked, she advised me to keep my husband with me at all times during the visit. Not only did I arrange this, but I called my brother before the visit and warned him that I wanted to hear nothing about S&M or any of his sexual escapades. I told him that he traumatized me repeatedly with these details in the past. He promised he wouldn't expose me to it anymore and apologized. I had told him this before, but I emphasized it vigorously this time, and stupidly told him that I was so leery of him that I now refused to be in the room alone with him, so he would understand how serious this was. He was fine during the visit until my husband went to the bathroom, and then he turned to me at our picnic table and said, "My girlfriend is going to have a ring inserted in her labia so she can always be stimulated." When I pulled back in horror, he leered at me triumphantly and declared, "I just had to get it in." During the same visit, I caught him urinating in my baby's sandbox. His excuse was that they were out in the country and he saw no reason to come in to use the bathroom. But that made no sense. It was in the suburbs and I had a beautiful garden. I felt he did this to degrade me. Of course he did. Why in the sandbox? Why not in the grass and forget the bathroom if you can't get to the bathroom? There's nothing, nowhere else outside he could have taken a piss, but in your kid's sandbox, marking his territory. I noticed he did that right after I toured the garden with him and pointed out all my new garden beds. If I hadn't glanced out the window when I went to check the baby, I would have stepped right in his piss the next day when I put my baby in the sandbox. I finally understood that I was dealing with a perverse narcissistic psychopath and that I wasn't even safe with him to go outside for a minute. After my husband got rid of him and I told him what had gone down, my husband told me that when he brought him from the train station, my brother whipped out his penis and urinated in our front yard in full view of the neighbor before he came into our house, claiming it was okay once again because we were out in the country. My husband then exclaimed, there's something very seriously wrong with your brother. Yeah, no kidding. I know your mother distressed you by talking graphically in front of you about sexual topics. Can you talk about family members who do this and their motives? I wonder if your mother was sadistic when you talk about her. Meet Normus definitely is, in my opinion. I'm interested to hear your insights. Well, my mother definitely got off on the in your face making you comfortable exhibitionism. As did my father. My father's more the cuckold because he's the one holding the camera, I guess, while my mother was getting fucked and watching everybody else get fucked. So yeah. But what your brother is dangerous. He wants to whip out his dick anywhere, anytime, because it makes people uncomfortable. That's his kink. And he probably goes and jerks off later over the memory. That's how it works. They get their sexual satisfaction on making you uncomfortable. It's another type of narcissistic supply. The more you resist, the more he wants to do it. The more he's going to do. The more you resist, the more sadistic he's going to get. Hence, pissing on your front lawn and then pissing in your kid's sandbox. You would set boundaries before he showed up. Soon as he shows up, he pisses in your front lawn. You set more boundaries with him at the picnic table. Then he whips his dick out and pisses in your fucking kid's sandbox. Not your fucking kid, but you get my drift. Anything you do, any boundary you set with this exhibitionist is going to be violated harshly and disgustingly. He can't help himself. He gets off on it. It's what feeds his supply. So that's why just cutting him off is the only thing you can do. You can't challenge him. You can't set a boundary. You can't tell him nothing because he's going to figure out I can use this as a sexual charge for myself and piss in something else, piss in her mailbox, piss in a letter he sends you, accept nothing from him, have nothing to do with him. Because you setting the boundaries is actually feeding into the S&M. It's like a mental S&M now, where he can dominate you. What a disgusting pig. What a disgusting pig. And it's not only you, it's everybody. You were his main target. You were where it started. But he'll do this to anybody. He did it to the girlfriend, talking about bringing his daughter in. Come on. It's not just even the family with this guy. It's anybody. That's why setting boundaries with an exhibitionist type narcissist only encourages them. Only encourages them and makes it worse. Cut him out. Never talk to him again as you've done. And keep it that way. Keep it that way. Understand, by you trying to save him, you were feeding in. That's why he told you, because he wanted you to save him, and he wanted to piss all over you, metaphorically and physically now. It's all part of his sick kink. It's really deep when you think about it, because there's no getting around it. Anything you do with him other than cutting him out and alienating him completely, he's going to be able to turn against you and use it as a sexual turn on for himself. That's how crazy it is. That's why my mother would do it. You could see the pleasure she got out of making you sexually uncomfortable. You could see it. You could see she was getting a supply out of it, just like he does. So, no contact. Thank you so much for your contribution. Thank you for your story. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody watching. Please leave any opinions or advice in the comment section below. And again, if you want your story read on the channel, you have a topic you'd like me to cover or a narcissist you'd like to expose, you know what to do with the PayPal and my email links in the description box. I'll have the video right back to you. This is Ollie Matthews. Thanks for watching. See you all again soon.